When Evelyn Harper stepped out onto her porch to hang the laundry just as she always did, she noticed an old cardboard box sitting in front of her gate. The faint, high-pitched whimpering coming from inside the box made her chest tighten. Now, what in the world is this? When Evelyn opened the box, she found 5 small, golden-hued wolf pups huddled together. Shivering, they looked as if they had been born only a few days ago. It had been 10 years since she started living alone in this rural town on the edge of the mountains. Several years ago, after a bitter feud with her neighbor, Councilman Miller, over a property line dispute, the townspeople had started avoiding Evelyn. Rumors spread that old woman is difficult, and folks said it was best not to get involved with her. Since then, whenever she went to the farmer's market or the senior center, no one would make eye contact with her. In reality, the property line issue hadn't been Evelyn's fault. Miller had knocked down the old fence while tilling his field with his tractor and then claimed the boundary was actually further in, taking a chunk of her land. However, the townspeople took the side of Miller, who had served on the town council for years and made large donations to the community center. 5 years ago, her cousin Travis had scammed her with a bogus agricultural investment scheme. She lost the life savings she had spent a lifetime building, along with the title to half of her remaining farmland. "Come on, Evie, you have to invest in this. You'll double your money in a year. Smart farming is the future," Travis had said. Fooled by Travis's smooth talking, she had even stamped her personal seal on the documents. But in the end, he ran off with the money. Even when she went to the sheriff, they told her it was a civil matter and couldn't take any special action. "I was such a fool." Every time she remembered it, Evelyn's chest ached. Travis was like a nephew to her. She had doted on him since he was a boy. She had raised him like her own son after he lost his parents. Yet she felt betrayed overnight. She managed to scrape by growing potatoes, beans, and peppers on her small remaining plot. But almost every year she was hit by droughts, pests, or storms, and the harvest was never good. Last year, a storm ruined half her pepper patch. And the year before that, a drought withered her potatoes. Does even heaven want to abandon me? Evelyn often thought. And yet, on such a cold morning, who could have abandoned these wolf pups here? Evelyn looked around, but there was not a soul or a single footprint to be seen. Even when she walked to the entrance of the main road, she met no one. "Little ones, who left you in a place like this?" When Evelyn lifted the box, the tiny wolf pups shrank down even further. They were hungry and crying with weak voices. Their bodies were the size of her palm, their fur still soft and downy. She brought the pups inside, warmed some milk, and fed them with a bottle. They drank greedily, one by one. As their bellies filled, they quieted down and fell asleep. Watching them, a warmth she had forgotten for years welled up in Evelyn's heart. "But what am I going to do with these little guys?" Evelyn sighed and thought hard. It was difficult enough just surviving on her own. Did she have the means to raise 5 wolves? However, she couldn't bring herself to abandon these fragile lives. She remembered her old dog, Buster, whom she had once kept. Buster was also a stray she had taken in, and they had lived together for 15 years until he passed away from old age. In the end, Evelyn laid out old blankets and cardboard in the empty space behind her house and made a makeshift den for the pups. "I'll just watch them for a few days. Surely someone will come looking for them." Murmuring this, she gently moved the pups. She covered the area with a tarp to keep the wind out and prepared bowls for water and food. Strangely enough, that night, the water in the well in her yard looked clearer than usual. The water, which had been murky before, was now crystal clear, as if by magic. "Are my eyes playing tricks on me?" Evelyn tilted her head. But when she drank it, the water felt colder and sweeter than before. A week passed since Evelyn started caring for the wolf pups. Every morning at 5 o'clock sharp, she woke up and went straight to the backyard. "Did you sleep well, little ones?" When she called out to them, the pups wagged their tails in delight. Just seeing that made her feel bright and cheerful all day long. It felt as if a warmth she had forgotten for a long time was coming back to life. At first, it was just milk, but as they grew a little, she started giving them mashed food. When she put the bowls down with warm food, the sight of the 5 of them huddling together to eat was truly adorable. "Eat slowly now, no one is going to take it from you." Evelyn laughed as she stroked the pups' backs. The pups would look up at her for a moment and then bury their faces back in the food. The biggest one was Goldie. He was the most responsible of the siblings. When Sunny, Rusty, and Ranger fought, he would intervene, and if Tiny couldn't get to the milk, he would give up his spot. The 4th one, Ranger, was the most mischievous, always jumping around and starting trouble. and Tiny would desperately chase after Ranger. The strange occurrences continued. The pepper and potato plants, which had been withered from disease just a few days ago, visibly regained their green color and vigor. The crops closest to the backyard where the wolf pups played looked especially vibrant. "That's odd. I didn't even use fertilizer this year." Evelyn looked around the field in wonder. The leaves were a deep, glossy green, and the stems were growing thick and strong. The attitude of the townspeople also began to change little by little. At first, people whispered, "That old lady picked up stray dogs again." But seeing the adorable wolf pups, they began to approach quietly. The local children, in particular, made it a daily routine to peek at the pups through the hedge on their way to school. "Mrs. Evelyn, what are the puppies' names?" One day, an elementary school boy named Mason gathered his courage and asked. Evelyn was startled. How many years had it been since she spoke to the town's children? The children had been afraid of her because of what the adults said. But perhaps thanks to the pups, they were starting to open their hearts. "They don't have names yet. Would you like to name them?" When Evelyn said that, the children's eyes sparkled. "The biggest one is Goldie. The second is Sunny. The third is Rusty. The fourth is Ranger. And the smallest one is Tiny." The children named them enthusiastically. And Evelyn felt happy too. Listening to the innocent laughter of the children warmed her heart. However, caring for the wolf pups also brought financial worries. Food costs were not insignificant. And vaccinations and vet visits cost money. So, Evelyn decided to grow more vegetables in the field. Fortunately, the crops were growing exceptionally well this year, giving her hope. She knew raising these animals would cost money, but she had absolutely no intention of letting them go. One day, Evelyn was weeding the field with the pups. The wolves ran around her, watching her work. "Little ones, Grandma has to work hard so she can buy your food." As she spoke to them while working, a miracle happened. Water began to spring forth from the ground where the wolf pups had been digging. Clear water bubbled up like a small fountain. "Oh my, what is this?" Evelyn was surprised. She scooped up the water and drank it. It tasted sweet and cold. Like pure mountain spring water. It tasted exactly like the water from the natural spring near the old chapel she used to visit with her mother long ago. When she started watering the field with that water, the crops grew even better. The peppers ripened large and bright red, and the potatoes grew round and fat. Compared to the neighboring fields, Evelyn's vegetables were of significantly better quality. Even the insects didn't touch them, and every single leaf shone with life. "Is this perhaps thanks to those little ones?" Evelyn muttered to herself. Since the wolf pups arrived, only good things had happened. Of course, she could dismiss it as superstition, but it was clear that some special power was at work. She had felt something similar when her dog Buster was alive, but this time she felt it even more strongly. When the sun went down, she had dinner in the yard with the pups. Her solitary meals, which used to be lonely and tasteless, now felt incredibly warm just having the tail-wagging pups by her side. "I am so happy you came to me." When Evelyn said this while stroking their heads, the wolf pups seemed to understand her words and snuggled up even closer. However, a few days later, a strange event occurred while Evelyn was at the market. When she returned home, she saw unfamiliar footprints in the yard, and the pups were more alert than usual. Did someone come by? Evelyn looked around anxiously, but there was nothing unusual. However, the pups stared intently at the direction of the gate, whining and looking unsettled. That night, suspicious rumors began to circulate in the town. "I heard Evelyn's dogs actually have an owner, and they say they are extremely expensive animals." Hearing those words, Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. Anxiety began to mount that someone might really come to take the pups away. She could no longer imagine life without them. About a month after the pups were born, Evelyn decided to sell her produce at the market for the first time in years. The harvest was exceptionally good this year, far more than she could eat alone. "I have to earn their food money." Evelyn harvested the peppers, potatoes, and corn early in the morning and loaded them into her wagon. It had been a long time since she had gone to the market to sell. Until now, her farming hadn't gone well, and she had nothing to sell. But this year was different. The peppers were ripe and red, and the potatoes were uniform and beautiful. The corn was heavy and packed with kernels. Surely these are better than anyone else's goods. Evelyn headed to the market with high hopes. When she arrived and laid out her produce on a mat, passers-by immediately began to show interest. "Oh, look at the color of these peppers. Bright red and beautiful. The potatoes are all the same size. They look delicious." Evelyn was delighted by the people's praise. But then, something truly surprising happened. A middle-aged woman tasted Evelyn's vegetable samples and her eyes went wide. "My goodness, The flavor of this pepper is extraordinary. It's spicy but has a sweetness and a deep aroma. In the end, the woman bought a whole box of peppers. Rumors spread quickly. That old lady's vegetables are supposedly amazing. They're pesticide-free, but I wonder how they are so fresh. People formed a line to buy Evelyn's produce. Usually, she could sit all day and hardly sell anything. But that day, almost everything was sold out before noon. "Grandma, come back next week. I'm going to be a regular," a housewife said with a smile. Evelyn's chest filled with a proud feeling she had forgotten for a long time. "Yes, I'll be back next week." As she answered and counted the money, she realized she had earned more than a month's worth of her usual pension. On the way home, Evelyn's heart was light. "Little ones, I earned money." When she opened the gate and called out to the pups, the 5 of them ran over, wagging their tails. Seeing that, Evelyn felt as if she had the whole world in her hands. However, a few days later, an unfamiliar car appeared in the town. A middle-aged man in a suit got out of a black sedan and was asking the townspeople something. Evelyn saw this from inside her house and had a bad feeling. She saw Councilman Miller talking with the man for a long time. Then, Miller pointed toward Evelyn's house and explained something. It can't be. Evelyn's heart started beating fast. The next day, she noticed the townspeople's gazes were different. People who had been smiling at the pups just days ago were now looking at her with probing eyes. Is something bad going to happen because of the pups? Her anxiety grew larger and larger. The talk she overheard at the senior center had also changed. Those dogs are apparently incredibly expensive wolves, and the original owner is looking for them. Do you think Evelyn stole them? Such whispers reached Evelyn's ears. It was the exact same atmosphere as when she was isolated by the townspeople over the field dispute years ago. But Evelyn had no intention of letting the pups go. "I don't care what anyone says. I picked them up and raised them. What is wrong with saving abandoned lives?" She muttered to herself, feeling even more love for the pups. The wolves seemed to understand her feelings and snuggled up to her more than usual. Especially Tiny. Whenever Evelyn had a sad face, Tiny would rub against her feet and press her head against her. "Thank you, Tiny, as long as I have you all. Grandma is fine," Evelyn said, hugging the pup. However, another change was beginning to happen in the town. Rumors of the spring water that had gushed out near Evelyn's field spread. And people began to come secretly to draw water. "If you drink that water, you feel better. My joints feel easier." The rumors spread further and further. One day, a person who said they came from the neighboring county visited with a water jug. "Ma'am, please, could you share a little of this water? I heard it works for my sick child." Evelyn couldn't refuse and filled the jug. But her heart was complicated. Was this really all thanks to the pups? Evelyn pondered. While good things kept happening since the wolves arrived, it was also attracting too much attention. She just wanted a peaceful life. But before she knew it, she felt like she had become the center of gossip. One night, there was a loud knocking at the door. "Who is it?" When Evelyn asked, a stranger's voice replied. "Good evening, I'm here about the animals. May I speak with you for a moment?" In that instant, Evelyn's heart froze. The thing she feared had finally become reality. Her hands began to tremble at the voice of the stranger outside the gate. Just a moment. Evelyn ran to the backyard to check on the wolf pups. All 5 had their ears perked up and were watching the direction of the gate with vigilance. Unlike usual, Goldie, in particular, was growling low, trying to hide his siblings behind him. "Ma'am, please open up. I'm not a suspicious person." The man spoke in a polite tone, but Evelyn couldn't easily open the door. The memory of being scammed years ago made her wary of strangers. Eventually, Evelyn opened the door just a crack and peered at the man through the door chain. Standing there was a man in his 50s wearing a neat suit. He held a file containing documents in his hand and had a somewhat stiff smile on his face. "How do you do, ma'am? My name is Vance Sterling. I heard you found some pups a few days ago." When the man started speaking, Evelyn's heart beat even faster. "What happened to those pups?" "Actually, those are my animals. They are wolves of a special pedigree, and they are worth thousands of dollars each." Sterling took a piece of paper from the file and showed it to her. "This is the pedigree paper and the transfer contract." Evelyn tried to look closely at the document, but the print was too small to read clearly. "But why were such expensive animals abandoned in front of my gate?" Evelyn asked suspiciously. Well, you see, I run an exotic breeding facility in the city, and an employee let him escape by mistake. We searched for days and finally tracked them to this town." Sterling explained logically, but something didn't sit right. "Can you prove it, that those pups are really yours?" When Evelyn pressed him, Sterling's expression hardened for a moment. "Ma'am, why would I need to lie? This document is the proof." But Evelyn didn't believe him easily. "Do you know how small those little ones were? They were babies who hadn't even opened their eyes yet. There is no way breeder animals would be in that condition." Sterling faltered, looking flustered. "Ah, that is because the mother wolf had just given birth. And during transport, there was a slight mistake." His excuses were becoming more and more contradictory. From the backyard, the cries of the wolf pups could be heard. It was an anxious sound she had never heard before. Evelyn deepened her conviction. "I'm sorry, but I cannot trust you. Those little ones were clearly abandoned. And I raised them with all my heart. Ma'am, legally I am the original owner. This document is enough." Sterling's tone gradually became stronger. "I just want them returned peacefully." Evelyn gripped the door handle tightly and shook her head. "No, those little ones are my family now. I saved lives that were thrown away and raised them. So why must I return them?" Her voice trembled with tears. "If you say so, then there is no other choice. I will have to call the police or take legal measures," Sterling said threateningly, but Evelyn didn't back down a step. "Then go ahead and do that. But I will absolutely not let them go." When Evelyn said this firmly, Sterling fell silent for a while. Then, suddenly changing his attitude, he smiled again. "Ah, then let's do this. I will pay you for your care so far. How about $5,000 per pup?" Sterling said this and took out his wallet. But Evelyn felt even more anger. "Don't try to solve this with money. Those little ones are more important to me than money." Her voice was shaking, but her will was iron. Sterling's expression became increasingly displeased. "Old woman, stop being stubborn. They will come back to me in the end anyway." And then he added a meaningful remark. "By the way, the people in the town know about this too." Evelyn shuddered at those words. She thought the townspeople might be on Sterling's side. "What do you mean?" "Ask your councilman. I've explained everything about why I came here," Sterling said sarcastically and turned his back. "I'll come back tomorrow. Please think it over carefully by then." After Sterling left, Evelyn collapsed on the spot. She went to the backyard to check on the pups. And fortunately, they were all safe. However, the pups seemed to sense the danger and stayed closer to Evelyn than usual, refusing to leave her side. "Little ones, Grandma will protect you. I won't hand you over to anyone." Evelyn hugged the wolf pups tightly and swore. However, the anxiety in her heart grew larger and larger. That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep a wink. She checked the backyard many times, fearing Sterling might come to steal the pups in the middle of the night. The pups also woke up frequently, alert to their surroundings. When dawn broke and she woke up, something truly unbelievable had happened. The old shovel that had been in the corner of the yard and the fourth pup, Ranger, had disappeared. "Ranger!" Evelyn searched the area frantically, but he wasn't there. "Ranger! Ranger!" Evelyn's desperate screams echoed through the morning mist of the town. The remaining 4 pups also realized Ranger was gone and cried anxiously. Tiny, who was best friends with Ranger, wandered restlessly around the spot where Ranger usually slept. Evelyn began searching the entire town. From the foothills behind the town to the creek bed, she combed every place Ranger might go. "Ranger, where are you? It's Grandma." She continued to call until her voice went hoarse. But there was no reply. The townspeople watched Evelyn searching from a distance. But no one tried to help. All she could hear were whispers that the old lady has finally gone crazy over those dogs. Even Councilman Miller turned his face away and wouldn't meet Evelyn's eyes. Half a day passed, and Ranger was not found. Evelyn was exhausted and sat down in her yard. Was I mistaken? Is Ranger really gone? Just in case, she checked the backyard one more time. But Ranger was definitely not there. At that moment, the remaining pups began to act strangely. Goldie kept trying to go toward the entrance of the town. "Goldie, what's wrong?" When Evelyn followed him, Goldie headed toward an old, dilapidated barn on the outskirts of the property. The barn had once been a community storage shed but had been abandoned for years. The door was half open, and weeds were overgrown around it. "Is Ranger in there?" Evelyn headed toward the barn, feeling her heartbeat quicken. The inside of the barn was dim and dusty. Old farm equipment and rotting wooden crates were scattered about. "Ranger, are you in here?" Evelyn entered cautiously and called out. Then, a small cry was heard from the back corner. "Whimper, whimper." It was undoubtedly Ranger's voice. Evelyn rushed toward the sound. In a cluttered corner, Ranger had his leg caught on something and couldn't move. "Ranger, oh, you poor thing." Evelyn carefully freed Ranger and held him in her arms. Fortunately, there were no major injuries, but he was shaking with fear. "It's okay now. Grandma is here. You're safe." As Evelyn hugged Ranger and stood up, she stepped on something hard under her foot. Looking at the floor, she saw an old wooden box half buried in the dirt, which Ranger had apparently dug up with the missing shovel. Curious, she dug out the box and opened it, and was left speechless. Inside the box were many documents, bank books, and cash, but when she saw the name on the bank book, Evelyn was even more surprised. Travis Harper. It was the name of the cousin who had deceived her. With trembling hands, she checked the documents one by one. The bank book contained a portion of the money Travis had swindled from her. And there was even the deed to Evelyn's land. What on earth does this mean? Evelyn was confused. At the bottom of the box, she found an old letter. It was a handwritten letter from Travis, and judging by the date, it had been written several months ago. When she opened the letter, tears spilled from Evelyn's eyes. "Evie, I'm sorry. I really intended to use the money I took from you for that investment. But the business failed, and I couldn't pay you back. For the past few years, I've been working hard to save money to repay you, but I got sick and I don't have much time left." The letter continued. "I wanted to do something for you at the very end, so I used this money to buy some very special pups from a breeder. I know you cherished your old dog Buster, and I thought you must be lonely living alone. But I couldn't bring them to you myself. I knew you wouldn't forgive me, so I asked someone else to deliver them to your gate. I hope those little ones can heal your loneliness even a little." Reading the letter, Evelyn collapsed on the spot. The fact that Travis had passed away, and that the wolf pups were Travis's arrangement, was too big of a shock. "Travis, you are such a fool," Evelyn cried aloud. At that moment, all the mysteries were solved. Why the pups were in front of her house, and why only good things had happened since then. It was Travis's final sincerity entrusted to the wolves. The box also contained the original deed to the land in Evelyn's name, and a portion of the amount Travis had swindled was enclosed in cash. "With this, I might be able to get my land back." Evelyn gathered the documents with shaking hands. Ranger lay quietly in Evelyn's arms, licking her face as if he understood everything. "Ranger, you were a gift sent by Travis. I'm sorry I didn't know." Evelyn hugged Ranger tightly. On the way home, Evelyn's heart was heavy. Resentment and longing for Travis washed over her at the same time. It was maddening, yet she was grateful. Travis's feelings of worrying about her until the very end were painfully clear. When they got home, the remaining pups were overjoyed to see Ranger. "Little ones, you are gifts sent by our Travis. I won't hand you over to anyone." Evelyn hugged the 5 wolf pups and said. That night, Evelyn organized the documents Travis had left and made a plan for tomorrow. She had to go to the sheriff's station to report the facts and sort out the land documents. And she had to tell the truth clearly to the man named Vance Sterling. The next morning, Evelyn put the documents Travis left in her bag and headed to the sheriff's station. She could hear the townspeople whispering, but she didn't care. Where is that old woman going again? Is it about the dogs? She heard voices from behind, but Evelyn walked with her head held high. At the station, when she showed Travis's letter and documents, the deputy in charge was very surprised. "Mrs. Harper, is this true? This is evidence regarding that fraud case from years ago." The deputy examined the documents carefully and nodded. "We have confirmation that Mr. Travis Harper passed away last year from liver cancer. With these documents, there is a high possibility you can recover your property." Hearing the deputy's words, Evelyn's chest grew hot. She saw a ray of hope for resolving a problem she had given up on for years. On the way back from the station, Evelyn stopped by Councilman Miller's house. She needed to verify what he had told Vance Sterling yesterday. "Councilman Miller, may I have a word?" Miller looked at Evelyn with an awkward face. "Evelyn, what is it?" She felt something was off from his attitude. "Someone came yesterday about the pups. Didn't they? What did that man say?" When Evelyn asked directly, Miller became even more flustered. Well, that man said he was the legitimate owner and showed me documents." Seeing Miller stumble over his words, Evelyn was convinced. Vance Sterling was clearly lying. "Councilman Miller, didn't you accept money from that man?" At Evelyn's frank question, Miller's face turned bright red. "What are you saying? Such a thing. Please tell the truth. I know everything already." When Evelyn took out Travis's letter and showed it, Miller completely crumbled. "Actually, he said he would give me $1,000 per animal, so I just—" When Miller confessed, Evelyn was disappointed. He had betrayed a neighbor for money. "Councilman Miller, I am truly disappointed, both about the field years ago and this matter." Evelyn's voice held more sadness than anger. At that moment, Miller's wife came out of the house and bowed low to Evelyn. "Evelyn, I am so sorry, we were wrong." She apologized repeatedly while crying. "I am truly sorry for misunderstanding you and avoiding you all this time." Miller finally bowed his head too. "Evelyn, I was truly wrong too. That matter with the fence line years ago. I was the one at fault." He began to apologize even for things from years ago. In fact, Miller had been tormented by a guilty conscience for a long time. Falsely claiming the field boundary and isolating Evelyn in the town were all his fault. But his pride had prevented him from apologizing. "It's a bit late for apologies," Evelyn started to say, but Miller fell to his knees. "I am truly sorry. I will tell everyone in town everything. I will explain all the false accusations you have endured." Seeing that figure, Evelyn's heart was complicated. She felt both anger and pity. "Stand up, it's fine now." Just as Evelyn tried to help Miller up, it became noisy outside the house. When they went out, Vance Sterling had appeared again in his black car, but this time he was not alone. He had brought 2 or 3 men, and their expressions were not normal. "Old woman, the time we promised yesterday has passed and I haven't heard from you." Sterling got out of the car and shouted loudly. The townspeople came out one by one to see what was happening. Evelyn walked towards Sterling. "I know who you really are. Stop the lies." Saying that, she showed him Travis's letter. Sterling showed a momentary expression of agitation when he saw the letter. "What is this?" However, he immediately changed his attitude and brazenly said, "What are you trying to prove with such a fake letter?" "Fake, you say? Then shall we have the sheriff's office investigate?" When Evelyn spoke with confidence, Sterling's face stiffened. Actually, he had run the exotic breeding business with Travis, and after Travis died, he lied to try and steal the valuable wolf pups. The townspeople also began to notice the unusual atmosphere, especially when Councilman Miller stepped forward and shouted, "These guys are frauds." The air changed completely. The elderly women from the community center rushed over, and the young men gathered too. "Don't touch Evelyn's animals. Get out, swindlers." The townspeople shouted at Sterling and his men in unison. Realizing the situation was unfavorable, Sterling hurriedly tried to get into the car. "If you're going to be like this, I'll take legal action." But no one believed his words anymore. "Legal action? We're the ones who should say that." The leader of the town youth group stepped forward and shouted, "We'll turn you in for attempted fraud." In the end, Sterling and his men turned tail and fled. The townspeople surrounded Evelyn, comforting and encouraging her. "Evelyn, it must have been hard for you. We didn't know. We're sorry." Hearing warm words for the first time in years, tears spilled from Evelyn's eyes, especially when the children ran up and asked, "Grandma, are the wolf pups okay?" Her chest became hot. "Yes, my Goldie, Sunny, Rusty, Ranger, and Tiny are all safe." The children were relieved and smiled. That night, a small gathering was held at the community center. The townspeople apologized to Evelyn for their past mistakes and vowed to help each other from now on. Evelyn also opened her heart and was welcomed back as a member of the town. That night, when Evelyn returned home, she sat in the yard with the pups and took out Travis's letter once more. The 5 wolf pups gathered around Evelyn, as if listening to the contents of the letter. Under the pale moonlight falling on the letter, Evelyn tried to sort out her complex feelings for Travis. "Travis, you really are a fool." When Evelyn muttered looking at the letter, the pups tilted their heads. "Why didn't you tell me these feelings sooner? Why carry it all alone and leave only a letter?" Her voice began to tremble. She opened the letter and read the last part. "Evie, I really relied on you completely. You raised me like a parent since I was small, and you were always by my side when I was in trouble. I am a truly sinful human for betraying such a cousin. But until the very end, I was thinking only of you. I couldn't sleep at night worrying that you were alone. I hope these wolf pups become your friends, and I would be happy if you could smile again through them." When she read the last line of the letter, large drops of tears rolled down Evelyn's eyes. "Evie, please forgive me, and I love you." That was Travis's last word. "Oh, Travis, I forgive you. I've forgiven you a long time ago." Evelyn hugged the letter tight to her chest. The resentment and anger that had accumulated for years seemed to wash away with her tears. The wolf pups seemed to sense Evelyn's sadness, and one by one, they rubbed their heads against her chest. Tiny, in particular, licked Evelyn's cheek as if to comfort her. "Thank you, Tiny. Grandma feels warm because you are here." There was one other thing written in the letter. It was the story of how Travis found the pups. Actually, the mother of these little ones was a wild wolf named Hope. Since her name was similar to your old dog Buster's nickname, Boss. I thought this might be some kind of destiny. Maybe Buster sent these little ones to you from heaven. Also, these pups might have special instincts because their mother was a spirit wolf from the mountains." At that moment, Evelyn understood everything. She understood why the well water became clear, why the crops grew well, and why the new spring gushed forth. "You really were special children." The letter also mentioned Vance Sterling. Vance Sterling is targeting these pups. He says he can sell them for a high price because of their pedigree. "But I don't trust that man. That's why I secretly sent these little ones to you before my illness got worse. If that man comes to you, please absolutely do not hand these little ones over. That man only thinks about money. These little ones are happiest being with you." Evelyn was filled with gratitude for Travis's feelings of caring for her until the very end. "Travis, thank you so much." She looked up at the sky and said. She felt as if Travis was watching over her from somewhere. Suddenly, Evelyn got goosebumps. She truly felt as if her old dog Buster had sent these wolf pups from heaven. "Buster, did you send these little ones? Thank you so much." The wolf pups all looked up at Evelyn and wagged their tails. It was as if they were saying, "We will protect Grandma." Evelyn stroked the 5 pups in turn. "Little ones, you are gifts given to me. Gifts sent by Travis at the end. And gifts sent by Buster from heaven." There was no longer any sadness in Evelyn's voice. Instead, it was filled with a warm sense of happiness. Finishing the letter, her heart felt completely light. The resentment toward Travis vanished, leaving only gratitude and nostalgia. "Now I can truly send you off, Travis." That night, Evelyn fell into a peaceful sleep for the first time in years. The pup slept quietly by her side, and in her dream, a young Travis and Buster appeared together and waved to her. "Evie, you look happy, we are happy too." The next morning, another miracle happened. A small rainbow appeared over the yard, and beneath it, the 5 wolf pups were playing happily. Evelyn smiled seeing that sight. "I thought my life was abandoned. But it wasn't, the gifts just arrived a little late." Evelyn's voice resonated warmly in the morning air. A month passed since then. Evelyn's life had completely changed. Thanks to the money and documents Travis left, she recovered part of her lost land, and her days with the wolf pups were happier than ever. Getting up early to feed the animals and going out to the field together became a daily routine. "Little ones, we're working together again today." The 5 of them wagged their tails and followed her to the field. Now, it had become normal for the town's children to stop by and greet the pups before going to school. The crops in the field continued to grow mysteriously well. The peppers ripened bigger and redder, and the potatoes and corn were far more magnificent than her neighbors. In particular, the spring that gushed out from where the pups had dug had now become a town landmark. "Evelyn, can I have a little water again today?" Elderly neighbors would come asking with jugs. "Of course, take as much as you like." Evelyn cheerfully filled the water for them. She felt that the more she shared, the more abundantly the water gushed forth. At the market, Evelyn's produce was now a brand, called Goldie's Grandma's Vegetables. People lined up to buy them. "Grandma, are you selling this week too?" "Of course, because the little ones are healthy. We have a bumper crop," Evelyn answered with a laugh. Her relationship with the townspeople was completely repaired. Councilman Miller, who had apologized from his heart, was now Evelyn's best friend. "Evelyn, I am really sorry. I will be your strength from now on." True to his word, Miller frequently helped Evelyn with farm work. At the community center, Evelyn was now an indispensable central figure. "Evelyn, do you have any interesting stories today?" The old ladies gathered around Evelyn and listened to stories about the wolf pups. In particular, the stories of the 5 pups with different personalities became the town's most popular content. Goldie was still the responsible eldest son role. The smartest one, Sonny, did little chores for Evelyn. Rusty, the most charming one, was popular with the children. And the mischievous Ranger brought energy to the town. And Tiny was the biggest baby, never leaving Evelyn's side. One evening, Evelyn was looking back on past events while having dinner with the pups in the yard. "So many things have really happened." The pups tilted their heads and looked at Evelyn. "Travis, Buster, and you guys too. You are all gifts to me." At that moment, there was a knock at the door. "Who is it?" When Evelyn asked, the reply came, "Good evening, we are from the TV station." When she opened the door, a young female reporter and a cameraman were standing there. "We are from the local TV station. The story of you and the wolf pups was so moving that we wanted to interview you." Evelyn was bewildered by the reporter's words. "Interview a place like ours? The people in the town recommended you. They said it's a truly beautiful story of how an old woman saved stray animals and it became the catalyst for restoring the town's unity. At the reporter's explanation, Evelyn finally nodded. When the filming started, the wolf pups displayed their talent in front of the camera. Ranger, in particular, was curious about the camera and tried to lick the lens, making everyone laugh. They are truly cute animals, the cameraman exclaimed involuntarily. In the interview, Evelyn told her story as it was. At first, it was really hard. I was all alone and isolated. But since these little ones came, my life has completely changed. What is the biggest thing that changed thanks to the pups? Asked by the reporter, Evelyn thought for a moment. Laughter has returned, and I was able to connect with people again. Most of all, I started looking forward to the morning coming. Finally, is there anything you want to tell the viewers? To the reporter's last question, Evelyn said while stroking the pups. Abandoned lives are precious lives too. If you raise them with love, that love comes back many times over. And please don't think it's too late. A new beginning is always possible. When the program was broadcast, more people visited the town. In particular, many elderly people living alone came to see Evelyn. I wanted to keep an animal like you. Grandma, you gave me courage. Every time she heard such words, Evelyn felt proud. Seasons turned, and when autumn came, Evelyn's field welcomed a massive harvest. The peppers, potatoes, and corn yield was many times that of average years. This year is truly a jackpot. The townspeople were amazed. Part of the harvested produce was donated to the town's community center, and part was shared with people in need. It seems the more I share, the richer it becomes, Evelyn said happily. One night, Evelyn was sitting in the yard with the pups looking up at the sky. It was a night where the stars were mysteriously beautiful. Travis, Buster, thank you, thanks to these little ones you sent. Grandma is so happy. The wolf pups were also looking up at the sky quietly. It was as if they were conversing with the stars. Let's live happily together forever. Because I have you, Grandma is the richest person in the world. That night, Evelyn fell into a deep, peaceful sleep she hadn't tasted for years. In her dream, Travis and Buster appeared together and said, Evie, you look happy, we are happy too. The next morning, a small rainbow hung over the yard again, and beneath it, the 5 golden-hued wolf pups were running around happily. Evelyn smiled seeing that scene. I thought my life was abandoned. But it wasn't, the gifts just arrived a little late. Evelyn's voice resonated warmly in the morning air. 130.7 S.